All right, I tried this. I tried using my computer, but it wasn't working well. So I am your host, Indigenous Hebrew, and I'm here to give you guys a little bit of education on international law. All right, so okay, my last video didn't work out well while I was on the computer. It wasn't working out well, so I'm using my phone to do this video. Here we go. So we have a new pope, folks. We have a new pope. His name is Pope Leo the 14th. And he's taken up where Pope Francis left off. He's the new vicar of Christ. He's the stand-in for St. Peter, according to Catholic doctrine.
When Pope Leo XIV emerged on St. Peter's balcony for the first time as Pope, he offered three big important clues about what kind of papacy he might have. The first was the choice of name. The last Pope Leo was a pope who died in the early 20th century. He was known as the Pope of the Workers. He was really concerned about issues of social justice and started a tradition called Catholic social teaching. He spoke up for fair treatment of workers, fair pay, and the right to join unions.
All right. New pope. Show you guys something real quick. So the reason you guys come to social media is because it's for alternative news. Now here we have Fox News. This is from Forbes. And they're saying that Fox News avoids saying we lied after settling with Dominion. I believe that's a company or somehow for over $700 million. So Fox News can lie. And then they're not going to put their lies on TV. They're not going to tell you, hey, we lied, but keep on listening to us. Okay, so this is the reason why you guys come to social media, because not every, well, I'll say my word is my word and someone else's word is their own word. So what Fox News is doing is that they can lie and then get away with it by paying $700 million, whereas regular people, we're just basically here to talk to you. Hey, this is my idea and you run with it if you want to or not. Now, Pope Francis, what Pope Leo the 14th is doing is he's supposed to take up where Pope Francis left off. And in from 2014 to 2022, I believe, Pope Francis had this idea to repudiate the doctrine of discovery. And the doctrine of discovery is international law. The doctrine of discovery is what allowed European governments to come over from Europe and take up all the North and South America, North, Central, and South America, based off of papal bulls. And again, the doctrine of discovery, right here, as you can see, right here to the side, right here, as you can see, the doctrine of discovery is international law. It's international law. Right here, you see Terra Nullius, which is Antarctica. You have the Indian Removal Act, which the Trail of Tears, as known as the Trail of Tears. You have the Indian Act in Canada. Again, this is the Trail of Tears again. 60,000 people, the 5 civilized tribes, were removed from 1830 to 1850. And then you have here tribal sovereignty. Now, tribal sovereignty is important for Native Americans because it allows themselves the concept of sovereignty. It allows themselves the inherent authority to govern themselves. Something you Negroes don't have, even though you were damaged by the same international law of the doctrine of discovery. This is the Vatican News. The church defends indigenous peoples' doctrine of discovery. This was Pope Francis there in 2022. This Vatican document is saying a joint statement from the dicastery for culture. Again, human development. The integral human development formally repudiates those concepts that fail to recognize the inherent human right of indigenous people. Again, human rights are international law. The doctrine of discovery destroyed that. They saying they denying it here. It was never Catholic, but that's what the European nations who used it, they thought it was. It was from those papal bulls. They got their authority from that, and I'll show you guys that later in one of the U.S. Cases, U.S. Supreme Court cases. So again, human rights are fundamental rights that every person possess simply by being human, by being in your skin. Civil rights are those made up by the government. Civil rights protect individuals. That's what it says. Individuals, the right to vote, the right to fair trial, and protection against discrimination based off race, gender, or religion. Again, and you can find those in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, with civil rights, voting rights, we see today, right now, we're seeing, Trump and company, the MAGA group, Make America Great Again, destroy everything that the civil rights worked for. Martin Luther King said that he feared that he would brought his people into a burning house, if I believe that's quoted correctly. He integrated his people into a burning house. Well, right now we're seeing the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Acts, and just anything pertaining to Negroes get its history rearranged by the MAGA and company, Make America Great Again. Why? Because it's their civil rights. It's their rights that they have made up for their government. Okay? It's their rights that they have made for their government. These civil rights and the human rights that pertain to you Negroes who are still fighting, still, I guess, protesting for, you going for these civil rights. Okay, they have the ability to change them. Is it racist to go and look for human rights? No, because Native Americans have human rights. You can go to any Native camp. You can go to any one of their camps and see that they're practicing their own laws there. You can go see a powwow or whatever it is that they practice in their history, their culture. You can go there and see that. But you civil rights, you folks who are demanding civil rights, you're on a criminal code. Human rights for the Native Americans are under U.S. Code 25. Civil rights under the United States Code 18 is criminal procedures. So you're demanding criminals or criminal rights to be civil here, to be a city dweller. It's another document on human rights. Okay, I need you guys to see this. Right here at the bottom, so you guys know that it's legit. Right here at the bottom, right here. So it's presented by North Carolina Office of Archives and History in association with University of North Carolina Press. Okay, so it's coming from a legitimate source. It's North Carolina Office of Archives. Now, I want you guys to see this. Again, the way we lived in North Carolina before 1770. Natives and newcomers. North Carolina before 1770, the Tuscarora War. Tuscarora. I believe that's how it's pronounced. And we're going to go down to this picture. I guess this is what Tuscarora is supposed to look like. Tuscarora Indian. Now, right here, this is an eyewitness account. This right here is an eyewitness account, folks. It says John Lawson, Christopher von Graffenried, and a black slave held captive by Tuscarora, as sketched by Graffenried. So he sketched this image. Okay, this is pre-1770. Pre-1770. These are the guys that are captured. I believe one of them is Graffenried, and one of them is John Lawson. And here's the slave right here. Here's the slave right here. Now, feast your eyes on these guys. These are the Indians. I want you guys to get a closer look at that. Look at their skin tones. Look at their hair. Do you guys see that? I don't have to tell you what type of hair this is. I don't have to tell you. But look at their hair. This is the African right here. And these are the Indians. Those are the Indians that Mr. Graffenried drew. He sketched for his people to know what the Indians look like, how when he was captured. And it goes on to say that in this article, it says that Graffenried and the slave was released. I think it was John Lawson was the one that they ended his life because maybe it was some miscommunication or misunderstanding. But the Indians, and this is why we got this photo, because the Indians allowed the slave and Mr. Graffenried to, go away. This is why we got this photo. Okay? So we know that Afro people were the first people here, or at least some of the tribes that were here. And it's not just our more Mongoloid Native American brothers, but it was also Afros here. Okay? Y'all got that? Doctrine of discovery. Oh, that's the Christian emperor. Okay, so that's just another source. Okay, this is the papal rule. The bull, the Roman Pontifex Nicholas V, January 8, 1455. And there was more of these, but this is one of them that allowed, the Europeans to come over here and take up lands and enslave people of color. This is one of them. This is just the royal charter of the Hudson Bay Company for Canada. Before Canada was a country, it was a company. Just like the United States had the London Company and the Virginia Company, which became the House of Burgesses, then it led to the United States. Well, anyhow, this is how you connect those companies, those former companies, enslaving companies, to the countries we have today. So again, here's the Canadian Hudson Bay Company, which enslaved the Native Americans and the blacks that were in Canada. And then you go on and you look for the charter companies of the United States or pre-United States. Again, European treaties bearing the history of the United States and its dependencies. Now, this is a book that you guys need to look up. European treaties on the history of the United States and its dependencies to 1648. This is something that you need to look up. This book here. show you guys real quick. Okay, what they're saying in this book, which is, let me show you guys. This is a book, European Treaties Bearing on the History of the United States and Its Dependencies. That means it's international treaties, European treaties, it's international law. And it's saying that they are saying that they used papal bulls. I don't know if you guys could see that. Just bring it up to you. They're saying that they used papal bulls, treaties and earlier papal bulls from an important portion of the original material for American history. Okay, they use papal bulls. Okay, it's important for you guys to know that this international law that you guys you blacks are fighting for, you people of color, you black Americans, former slaves, descendants of slaves, whatever it is you want to call yourself, Hebrew Israelite, Moor, whatever you want to call yourself, this is what you need to know, that it's international law. It's not civil rights, because civil rights can be given to you. And as we're living right now, our rights are being, I guess, demolished by MAGA and company. As you can see right here, page 7 of this book, it says that the papal bulls were used to establish government or to establish laws here in the United States. You guys need to know that. Again, the Virginia Company of London, which started the United States, it was a company, an international company. So your stay here, whether you were originally here, as Mr. Graffenried wrote down in his, we'll see that again. As Mr. Graffenried showed us, whether you were originally here as these, Afro-wearing Indians, Graffenried, I guess that's pronounced. Whether you're originally here as an Indian, as a West Indians, or if you were enslaved here, slave, West Indians. If you were either one of these, then international law, the papal bull and the international law was used to either enslave you or send you somewhere that you didn't want to be, change your identity, all that stuff. That's what happened. So this Virginia company, they were the arbitrators of that. And that Virginia company, the London company, Virginia company, which became the House of Burgesses, is now the United States. It was the Hudson Company in Canada. It was the Virginia Company here in the United States. So again, it's international laws and they were defined. When did they end? Founded by James I, King of England, and it was dissolved 24 May 1624. So, but anyhow, it's international law is what I want you guys to understand. So if you're out there protesting, you should be asking or demanding for a treaty and not for civil rights. Okay? Martin Luther King said that he feared he integrated his people into a burning house, and then they end his life. They ended his life. So that should mean something very specific, and that should be significant for you to understand that the United States does not have to recognize the laws that it create. They can make them and break them. What was it? One of them, it was the liquor law. They banned it and then they reinstated it. There's two constitution amendments for banning it and then reinstating it, liquor law. Okay, so they can recognize what they want, when they want, and where they want under the laws that they create for themselves. Now, if you're dealing with international law, it is a treaty. And as you can see today, there's Native American reservations and camps across the United States, and they are given a treaty. They're allowed to participate in their own laws. What do you Negroes have? Think about it. What do you Negroes have? Y'all still thinking about it? Here's a court case that solidifies the doctrine of discovery being recognized by Federal Supreme Court of the United States. This Chief Justice John Marshall explains the discovery doctrine in the U.S. Supreme Court, Johnson and Graham versus McIntosh or Imtosh. I believe that's how it's pronounced. But again, they're identifying the doctrine of discovery, which is something that was in those Papal Bulls, international treaty amongst the European nations to destroy indigenous people. Whether you are indigenous in Africa or you're an indigenous person here in the United States, it's an international treaty. One last thing I wanted to show you guys. Caboclo. Look what pops up. Y'all see what pops up? That's the word right there, caboclo. Look what pops up. Multiracial, human skin color, ancestry, and ethnicity. Caboclo. You guys should go check that out. Now, caboclo is mixed indigenous Brazilian of European ancestry or Amerindian. Now, for me, myself, personally, I have to go down to this one. You guys can see that. Let me show you guys that. Pardo. Now, I myself am African. I'm also indigenous, and I am also European. I have European ancestry, indigenous ancestry, and African ancestry. So that would make me a Pardo if I was in Brazil. If I was just indigenous and African, I would be a Zambo. If I was African and European, I would be a mulatto. If I was indigenous and European, I would be a mestizo. But I have all of them, so I am a Pardo. And that's what they call themselves in Brazil, Portuguese and Spanish America. Okay? But here in America, they just call me black because of my skin color. So it gets rid of all of this history. I can't celebrate my European ancestors, my indigenous ancestors, nor my African ancestors. Why? Because here in America, they just call me black. So it is a damage. Matter of fact, speaking English right now is a damage. A lot of people don't understand that. Speaking English is a damage because I should be able to speak in the tongue of my ancestors, my indigenous ancestors, or even my European ancestors. And it wasn't always English. Y'all got that? Or my African ancestors. My African ancestors didn't speak English. All right? So this is one of the damages here that, living in the United States has done under this doctrine of discovery. And I will add all this information to the box so you guys can go check it out for yourselves. Okay? I will end my rant for today. Just to recap again, the Pope Francis, his doctrine of discovery, he wanted to get rid of it, and we have a new pope.
From Creole people of color from New Orleans.
Let's hear that again.
Creole, he just keeps making history, and now it's his history that's making news. We have learned that the new pontiff, Pope Leo XIV, descended from Creole people of color from New Orleans. ABC News has actually obtained records and photos of the groundbreaking discovery that shows how the first American Pope's family tree reflects the complex racial history of our country. Joining me now.
Okay. The last Pope wanted to get rid of the doctrine of discovery. Now this new Pope, he's got Creole ancestry, Negro ancestry. We'll wait to see if he wants to recognize his people. Robert Francis Prevost is your new Pope Leo XIV. All right. We'll see what he do. I am your indigenous Hebrew Israelite, conscientious objector, and administrator of peace. Speak peace, speak peace, speak peace. Hebrew Israelite out.